Welcome to Wisdom Exchange TV. My name is Suzanne F Stevens, Chief Edge Optimizer for the Ignite Excellence Group of Initiatives. One of our initiatives is the Ignite Excellence Foundation, where we invest, develop, and inspire future women leaders in emerging countries. With that goal in mind, we create and produce Wisdom Exchange TV, where we interview women leaders all over Africa that are trailblazers, pioneers, leaders of many, in politics, business, philanthropy, and education. These are the women that are the change agents. They will share with us their insights on their areas of expertise, as well as their leadership lessons. Please join us on Wisdom Exchange TV. We launch a new interview every 2 weeks. And please be a fan on our Facebook, Wisdom Exchange TV, as we would like your opinion on who we should interview. But right now, we're actually at Heaven Restaurant on a beautiful deck overlooking Kigali, Rwanda. We are here with human rights activist Regina Ingabire, co-founder, past president, and board member of Never Again Rwanda, a youth network. Although Regina was born in Tanzania, where her parents were refugees due to the historic Rwandan genocide, she's made it her mission to help rebuild her country, Rwanda. Regina is a co-founder of a youth network, Never Again, to connect and build critical thinking among youth around the world. This network has provided a forum for youth to connect and generate ideas and provoke action for peace. Regina organized and coordinated international and national youth forums and contests to discuss the role of youth in conflict management and peace-building processes. Her dedication to rebuild has impacted many. It is an absolute pleasure to meet you, and just in time. I mean, I think you arrived 2 weeks before I did. So thank you for taking the time. Now, you've tended to focus a lot on youth as a primary catalyst for change. What impact do you think that focus has created for Rwanda?
You know, when I co-founded Never Again about 12 years ago, 10 years ago, what we had in mind was to create a forum where Rwandan youth can meet and exchange ideas and talk about things that impact their country and what role can Rwandan youth play to shape a better Rwanda for the future. And the impact has opened that forum where youth can meet and discuss and in fact propose and recommend what should be done for their country, and also have the government of Rwanda also know what the Rwandan people, especially young people, are thinking and how they can all work together to make this country a better country.
What initiative out of that do you think has had the most impact on Rwanda?
I remember in 2005 we had a youth competition in the country with the theme of what can Rwandan youth do to prevent future genocide. And youth had to compete in poems and songs and in essays. And that was a forum for them to say what they think, what should be done, and also on the other side, for the government to hear what the youth population is thinking about the future of the country. Was success on both sides, to know that these younger Rwandan youth are the younger leaders, are the future leaders, not only of this country but also of the whole world. So focusing, giving them the voice and the power, that had made a huge difference. Not only not only on a personal level, but also on a professional level, and also had impact in their community.
A lot of people have good ideas, but did any of those ideas actually get taken up by the government or the communities to implement those ideas, or was it just about their voices being heard?
Some of their initiatives has been taken by the government officials. I remember when we did that competition in 2005, the recommendation which came from the competition we afforded to the Minister of Education, and the Minister of Education worked upon it to improve the education system.
Where do you think youth can make the biggest impact in society?
I think the impact they can make in the society is being aware of who they are and what the problems in their community and their country and what role they can play in their own community. They're being empowered in a sense that they also want to be part of the solution. They know this is the problem. What can we do as young people to improve the kind of situation we are in, as not as a single person, but as a group of young people. So far, Never Again has about over 50 clubs in secondary schools and in universities throughout the country. And then through those clubs, they organize what they can do in their own school to improve certain things they want in their own community.
We've been here about 9 days, and I've heard people say Rwanda, or Kigali particularly, is one of the safest cities there is. And I'm walking out at night where it's warned not to walk in any city pretty much in Africa at night, and we're walking home at night. Do you think there's been some impact by educating the youth on ensuring that there is a feeling of safety, not only for each other, but also for people that visit this city?
Honestly, I think given what our country has gone through, as Rwandans, most of Rwandans, we wanted to change the perspective other people had about Rwanda, thinking that it's a horrible country. We wanted to change that mindset of people, but also by setting examples. How could we make even our small city, Kigali, being the safest city, can walk throughout the night without being robbed or without being feared for your own security? Not only I would say that Rwandan youth are aware what that image would send to the rest of the world. If we want to be the agents of change, we should start from our own home, and making our city safe and making our country safe is one of Rwandan youth's priority as well.
Do you think Rwandans may be a little embarrassed by the circumstances they found themselves in?
Where we are raised to as Rwandans, our parents would teach us always to make anything you do, make sure that it makes your parents proud. So that's back in our minds. So whatever we do, we want to make sure that you don't embarrass yourself, neither your parents, nor your parents.
So when you co-founded Never Again, why? Why did you get involved in this campaign?
Yes, I was in Tanzania, but it wasn't by choice. Growing up in Tanzania, being reminded that you're Rwandan, but knowing that you are there and you hear that your families are back in Rwanda, but you don't know even then. And also when we came back from Tanzania, most of my relatives were killed during genocide. So that was a way of teaching.
It's okay. That's okay.
So that was a way to inspire other younger people, not to be the victim, but to be inspirational.
How engaged when you started were the Rwandan youth in the whole process of Never Again?
At the beginning, we're like, okay, we didn't have a clear vision or how it's gonna end up because we're still students at National University of Rwanda. But we are so focused. We say this is what we want, and let us get a few people interested and see what they think. But the motivation and the need to get involved was really, really hard because there wasn't such thing before where youth can really take initiative from the beginning up to the top.
Now, you've been involved in youth for quite some time. So what would be some of the most creative ways that you've engaged youth?
Talk to the youth and also give them time to listen. Now, by listening, we got ideas from them, and then it would help from their ideas, then we'll create something where we work together.
What would you say some of the biggest challenges were with starting and executing Never Again?
The biggest challenge was that we started when we were students, and of course we had papers due then there, so you had to make sure that you balance between this Never Again initiative and your tasks like classroom and schoolwork you have to do. The biggest challenge was definitely timing and funding. We had to ask funding in many NGOs working in Kigali and overseas, and we had to do that as our part-time because we had full-time with full-time students.
How did you manage that?
Less sleep, working long hours until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and the next morning you have to go in the class or go to work, because even when I finished school I had to come to Kigali for work, and I still kept working on Never Again.
It's Never Again's in how many schools now, did you say?
It has 50 clubs.
Okay. So to get that going, what was the one thing that drove you to do that?
Seeing youth excited about the Never Again and about themselves taking their own initiatives always made me, even if I'd be so tired, I'd say, no, I can't disappoint these young people, very brilliant mind. We have to keep going to make it successful.
Yeah, I guess having some control, because you're doing something.
Yes.
You're doing something rather than sitting back, which is great. Now, you decided to go to the U.S. What was driving you there?
When I went to US, I went for graduate school, where I earned a master's degree in sustainable international development. And my goal always was to learn something new, acquire new knowledge, but also how can we use that knowledge to improve people's lives, not only back home, but where they're going to be. So I went to States to acquire advanced knowledge, what I thought, get new skills, learn about new culture, new environment, and use that knowledge acquired to impact people's lives.
So how do you think that experience has and will, because I guess you were in the States for how long? 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think that experience will affect your career?
It has already, but I think it affect my career in a positive way and also in a broader way. You have that global thinking. I'm not only thinking as a Rwandan, but I'm thinking as a global citizen. After living in both countries, it opens your eyes and see what did you learn there, what can you bring back home and make things better than what they are now.
A lot of times you hear people go, particularly women, and then they don't come back. Now you were saying to us that you came back. Why don't you tell us why you came back to Rwanda?
Rwanda has improved a lot in those 5 years. I can hardly recognize Kigali and other parts of the country I go to. But I always felt like it's my debt. I have to come back and do something. And that's why I'm here. Just why has been built by other Rwandans. Now it's my duty to come back and continue what's have been done so far.
And it sounds like you're fortunate enough to have a husband who's American, who's going to come with you.
He has been here before, but that's one of the things I share with my husband, is passionate about making people's lives better. We both share that passion deeply.
Okay, wonderful. You have a lot of experience in grant making for both U.S.-based and African-based nonprofit programs. What advice can you provide organizations that have to put grants together that will increase their odds of success?
Yeah, writing grants and the whole issue of fundraising, it's a really tough job. But also you have to persevere and communicate clearly what your program or what your organization wants to achieve at the end. Not only just getting grants, but what would be the impact at the end. Most of grant givers, they want to have clearly stated in your proposal writing what would be the impact. Sometimes we focus on activities, but we don't focus on what would this, if I give you $1,000, what going to be the impact at the end. Not just like you build a house, well, you build maybe a school, but what would that school do at the end? So we need to communicate clearly. And also another thing is about transparency. How are you going to use that money? properly. It's being clear, transparent, and of course hardworking. It's no easy job, so you're gonna spend nights and nights writing those grants and hopefully get them. But I was saying in general, you have to state what impact would that money make.
And I couldn't agree with you more. Running a fund within a foundation, one of the things I always say to our recipients is I want you to tell your story, but I want you to tell your story about the impact. Because when you deal with the West, we want to know results.
Yes.
And you need to tell us at the end, what are you going to do? And translating that to our foundation recipients has been very challenging because they can't get their head around that. And I said, well, I gave it to you for a reason. So now you need to communicate to the donors your progress, but what you're going to do. What have you learned that's going to help with your bigger picture?
Yes.
That's what they want to know. So thanks for that. Now you also talk about transparency, and I know transparency is such a huge thing. What are some of the things people can do to demonstrate their transparency?
When they give you grants, they give you guidelines how you're supposed to spend money. And in being transparent, you have to make sure that you follow donors' guidelines. At the same time, you have to make sure that those guidelines were also discussed before. Otherwise, they will give you money, but with conditions maybe which the organization can't fulfill. That grant won't be successful on both sides. So I think the key is to make sure that those guidelines are stated clearly from the beginning, but also as the transparent, you have to make sure that every single penny is spent the way it was supposed to be spent. And of course, you have to keep receipts as a proof that the money was spent exactly the way it was intended to. And reporting, you have to report on time to your donors or whoever gave you the grants to make sure that both sides are communicating on a regular basis. So you build that trust too, not only for that particular donor, but also for the potential donors. So it's very key to stay transparent in your actions in everything you do.
Just because I'm going through this reporting on time piece is also, you're right, because that builds trust. And if you miss that, then the trust is getting compromised, and then transparency and et cetera. So that's great advice. With many of your initiatives, you had to find partners. So, aside, be it government, university, private organizations, can you provide some advice on how to get access to these individuals? Because that's pretty tough too. Then how to secure commitment?
I think when you're looking for partners to partner on a specific project, what you have to see, you have to ask yourself is this organization in the same line of what we are doing? Or can we collaborate somewhere, somehow? And then after that, you have to look who can I contact to make this partnership happen. And then you schedule a meeting, you go and talk about your objectives and goals, and then you see where two of you can have an agreement or can say, okay, this is still also in our objectives and programs, maybe we can partner and bring half and make this happen. For example, if you want to build school libraries, you think that, okay, this goes into Ministry of Education, this goes into UNICEF, anything to do with the, children's education. So those will be your first partners because you know they're in the same line as you, but also you're coming not as a competitor, but you're coming as a partner, someone you share and accomplish the overall of improving education system.
Big question for you. Have you done a lot of soliciting partnerships in Africa?
Yes.
Now, do you find it different trying to gain partnerships here in compared to the U.S.?
I say yes. In Africa, sometimes we tend to do things more like personal. Especially in Rwanda, it's a very small country. So, okay, I have this project about, let's say, women's empowerment. And I know maybe USAID funds funds or promotes women's empowerment. So I would have to maybe go and knock on the door and tell them about what I'm thinking and who I am, and then they say, okay, there's someone here can meet, or come next time, or here's the phone number, and then from there you initiate the contact and then move on.
See, I would agree with you. Just being here for a year and a half, I've observed that until someone meets me, even though we've talked via email, nothing really happens until they meet me. And it's a big continent, so and it's very expensive to get around. So, establishing those partnerships is, I think, in the U.S. and in Canada and here, it's still relationship based, but yet the relationship can be built in other vehicles rather than just face to face. So I would concur. So it's always a bit of a challenge. You're fairly young still. May I say that?
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm 36.
Okay, so you're 36. So you've got a little bit of life under you. So at this point, what would you say the most significant impact you've made in your career?
As still working with the youth, I still far back to 2005 competition we did. When we had the final competition here at Kigali Institute of Technology, just think the whole big auditorium full of young students competing and songs, but on the topic which is so big than themselves, that was when I was really impressed and inspired even to work harder.
If there was one thing you can attribute your success to, be it a personality characteristic or a situation, what would that be?
Say hardworking and also visionary.
The most rewarding aspect of your career?
Is being where I am today.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took a lot of work, ups and downs, but I always persevere through no matter what comes on your way. Don't give up.
And there is always ups and downs. So what would be one of the biggest challenges that you've had to get to this point? And then how did you overcome that challenge?
There are many challenges you encounter in life, but being a girl, especially growing up in African context, sometimes you don't get not approval, but you don't get that much encouragement from your parents that you can do this, you can do this. Sometimes they would probably put you down, but in the long run you start discovering yourself. You're like, oh, I'm not that person my parents think I am.
Has there been any of the initiatives that you have done that just haven't worked? And why didn't it work? And what would you do differently now?
I had one idea. I still have it. But it hasn't worked so far just because of life circumstances sometimes. I'm a big believer in girls' education. And I have had some of not my close relatives, but there are two girls who always touch my heart. They're orphans, and I know they need to get higher education, but they can't pay for themselves. No one is there who can help them. So I've been thinking for so many years how I can maybe start an initiative to help orphans, especially girls, to get higher education, but I haven't been able to get it, to make it happen just because of work, life, kids, just, other person commitments. But if I have to do it again, which I'm still gonna do, is to work harder than I've been working.
Well, maybe that's why we met, because keep in mind our Ignite Excellence Foundation is just for that, is to allow women who would not have had the opportunity for education, who have a spark for leadership, that we do look for that, but you never know. We can talk about that.
Okay.
There you go. So this is what I call the edginess segment. And this is where something that you've had to do in your career that's made you uncomfortable. It pushed you to the edge of your comfort zone. But you've had to do it in order to achieve the success that you achieved. Do you have something that's made you uncomfortable, but you had to do it to achieve the success?
Yes, I do. I had one position in the States where I had to work with the people, especially with the phone, and trying to explain how things are, and sometimes get someone to get mad over the phone. When you're not in person, you can't interpret the other person well. And that was really tough, but I still had to do it because And it made me think the way, how could you communicate with someone far away and still get the message across, and how could you handle frustration with someone on the same point of thinking, and how could you still keep keep yourself calm at the same time stay professional. And that has made me who I am today, but it was tough. Right?
If there is one thing that you would do differently in your pursuit of your success, the big old 36, what would that be?
Sometimes having clear goals and objectives in life. What do you really want to achieve in life, and how you're going to get where you want to be. And also stay focused. Sometimes you get, not delusional, but sometimes we lose focus. And when you come back, oh, how did I end up there? So I'll say define your goals clearly and stay on it all the time.
So what does success mean to you?
I think success is being who you are, who you dreamed to be. We all have high, big dreams we want to achieve. I think success is living those dreams.
So how would you define leadership?
Leadership is, first of all, I say it's a tough role to take on, but leadership is required and it's needed to put things in order, to give things direction, to give, to put visions into action, and pretty much make things happen, even if they seem impossible.
With that, what sort of 3 leadership pieces of advice that you would share with women?
One thing I would say, definitely hardworking, being strong, and then stay to be yourself. Sometimes leadership could, turn you around to be the other person, but stay true to yourself.
When you're saying hardworking, I've heard that a lot, hardworking. What does that mean?
In life you have so many things you have to accomplish in personal life or in professional life. So it's being able to persevere through all what's needed by you. If you have children, they need you as a mother. You have parents, they need you as a daughter. You have sisters, they need you as sister, brothers. So it's being able to play that role effectively and still achieve the highest in your life.
Given the chance, what would you love to do that you haven't done yet?
One thing I really want to do is to, as I said, I'm a big fan of education. And after living in the States, I saw how young children, especially in primary school, secondary school, have access to learning tools. They have access to books, they have access to computers. And when I come back here to Rwanda, I don't see that chance for millions of Rwandans. One thing I really want to do is to create school libraries and computers in most of Rwandans, primary and secondary schools. Yeah.
You heard it here first on Wisdom Exchange. Excellent. Now, I know you have a son, only 2 years old, but let's say you had a daughter that was 10 years old today. What advice or words of wisdom would you give to her?
I'll tell her to be courageous and strong. When I say strong, it means that you're going to go beyond cultural perspectives, whatever the culture. Sometimes girls, especially in Africa, the culture of the society have expectations of you. Know your own expectations, but they expect you to do certain things. How could you make sure that those expectations of the society fits with your own expectations? And if you have to go beyond society expectations, make sure you have to be really strong. And one of the advice I give my young girls in Africa is that dream big and sky is the limit. don't let people define who you are.
Excellent. What do you wish you were told at 10 years old?
That sky is the limit. I didn't get told. Bro, at that age, that's when they're mentioning, oh, you shouldn't have been doing that because you're a girl, you're expected to do certain things in certain ways. By which someone would have told me that you are individual and you're unique the way you are, and just keep pushing. You're gonna reach where you want to be.
I think you're going to anyway.
Thank you.
What words of wisdom do you have for African women?
For African women, I believe that we are backbone of our country's development, of our country's future. And as mothers, we have to inspire our children. We have to be educators, as always we are. But this time, we have to encourage our children to be active citizens and to be part of finding solutions to their countries. And also as a women, we should be focusing on finding solutions of our country to the problems we have. I believe we have the power.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Well, thank you so much, Regina. My name is Suzanne F Stevens, and I co-produce Wisdom Exchange TV alongside my husband, Michael K. Ginrich. We're traveling via backpack all over Africa, interviewing women just like Regina, who are changing their communities, their countries, and ultimately the continent for absolutely the better. Please join us on the homepage as we update regularly expert blog feeds from women leaders all over Africa. And just a reminder, please go to Wisdom Exchange TV fan page and like our page. Please let us know who we should be interviewing in your country. Thank you for joining us.